Hello, sweet friends! My name is Birdie, and I am your friendly neighborhood forest witch. And first, I'd like to say a happy Black History Month to all the Black witches and magical practitioners out there. And to celebrate you, today's video will be another episode of Who's That Witch, where I will be talking about, dare I say, the most influential and celebrated voodoo priestess of all time, Marie Laveau. And just as a side note, this will be a more talkative video, so feel free to put me in the background as you do other things. But now, without further ado, let's get into this video. First, for a brief history, Marie Catherine Laveau was born a free woman of color, a Louisiana Creole, on September 10th, 1801 in the French Quarter of New Orleans, but her birth year is still disputed and is generally given as either 1794 or 1801. However, the New York Times marked her age at death as 98 years old in their 1881 obituary column, hence making her birth year 1783, so who knows? She was born to a white man named Charles Laveau, who was a Creole plantation owner, and his mixed-race mistress, Marguerite Darkentel, who was said to be a Choctaw Native American and African. However, Marie was raised primarily by her grandmother, who taught her in both the traditions of Catholicism and Voodoo. Also, it's theorized that she worked in some domestic capacity, possibly as a hairdresser. Then later, she was a merchant who sold her wares and possibly fruits and vegetables on the banks of Bayou St. John. In 1819, at 18 years old, she married Jacques Paris, who was a free man of color and who was employed as a carpenter. They actually had two children, Felicity and Marie-Angélie Paris. However, both of those children actually died in childhood. Then, to make matters worse, Jacques actually went missing in 1822 and was assumed dead, and Marie began referring to herself as Widow Paris. However, recent research has revealed that Jacques moved to Baton Rouge, perhaps for work, and did not actually die until 1823. Later, Marie met, and please excuse my pronunciation here, Louis Christophe Dominique Dumesnay de Glapion, who was a white French nobility and became her longtime domestic partner, and whom she would stay with until his death in 1855. They were reported to have had 15 children, but only 7 have been verified via birth and baptismal records between 1827 and 1838, and only 2 of those 7 survived until adulthood, unfortunately. Now that I've given a brief history of Marie, let's dive into her practice. Now, the first recorded instance of Marie Laveau and voodoo comes from an 1850 newspaper report about a complaint made to the courts regarding a raid on a voodoo ceremony and the taking by police of a ceremonial statue. Then, a week later, a group of women, including Marie Laveau, took the officers of the 3rd Municipality Guards to civil court, claiming that they had been illegally arrested while practicing their religion. They claimed they had been falsely imprisoned, improperly fined, and subject to assault and battery. However, a fine was paid and the statue was returned, but not to Laveau. And despite her run-ins with the courts, Marie attracted clients from far and wide who sought her advice. She assisted all the influential politicians of her day, and she had all the tea on the businessmen, lawyers, law enforcement, and even the bourgeoisie. She was the premier spiritual consultant for New Orleans, and her clients included the Queen of England and the Emperor of China. Each sent her elegant gifts in gratitude for her assistance. However, as us witches well know, not everyone was a fan. Many feared her, but she reportedly dispensed charms and potions to heal the sick, and she even saved condemned men from the gallows. Hence, she is most beloved by those in the city for her charitable works. And in addition to practicing voodoo, she was also a devout Catholic and observed and practiced the corporal works of mercy, which are feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, shelter the homeless, visit the sick, visit the prisoners, bury the dead, and give alms to the poor. She is also known to have sheltered runaway slaves and Choctaw market women. She also ministered to prisoners on death row and nursed those afflicted with the yellow fever. And as such, part of her renown in New Orleans is her reputation for healing the sick. And while charity work is well within the norms of the Catholic Church, Marie was known for some peculiarities. For example, a fellow midwife reported that every year on All Saints' Day, Marie took a big black box to the graveyard and placed it on an old tomb in the old St. Louis Cemetery. She sat in complete silence on that black box on top of the tomb all day long until the sun went down, at which time she went home. However, no one knows why Marie did this, but as us witches know, some of what we do in our practice is kept private and to each her own. She is also known for doing court case work in St. Roch Cemetery, which is any spell work dealing with legal matters, which of course she would because girl had some run-ins with the court herself, and she also performed love spells here as well. Also, in New Orleans voodoo and hoodoo, the standard offering to the dead is often 15 cents. 15 cents is left at the cemetery gates as the price of admission, and then another 15 cents is the standard minimum to be left at any grave where conjuring is done. That being said, Marie is reported as having a strange habit of adding a 15-cent surcharge on top of any price she charged. However, no one knows why, but us as witches can presume that this was because she worked with the spirits for her conjuring. Marie was also famously known for her voodoo dances and activities in Congo Square. She's said to have gone to the square at least 3 to 4 times a week. She brought her black snake with her in a box, which she put by the fountain and danced a while. Then, without speaking a word to anyone, she placed the snake back in the box and left just as smoothly as she arrived. Unfortunately, some people complained to the authorities about Marie and her quote-unquote scary snake, so 2 policemen were stationed at each of the 4 gates at Congo Square, and when she approached the entrance to the square, she just looked at them and proceeded to walk right in. No one ever tried to stop her or harm her, and I'd have to say she was a queen in every sense of the word because girl, she did not care. Then in 1881, Marie died of natural causes and was buried in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, and her tomb is actually the second most visited gravesite in the United States, next to Elvis Presley. People travel to her grave to pay their respects and make a wish on her tomb. 3 cross marks are made with a finger while making the wish and imploring the voodoo queen to answer. People used to use pieces of broken red brick from neighboring graves to draw their cross marks directly onto her tomb. Now, not only is this disrespectful to Marie's tomb, but it's also disrespectful to the tombs that they are taking these red bricks from. Hence, this practice is no longer allowed. The new rules also prevent people from visiting her tomb themselves, and you must now be accompanied by a tour guide. My husband and I actually had the privilege of traveling to New Orleans over Halloween. I guess it was about 2 years ago now, and we absolutely fell in love with the city. Now, while I was there, I was able to take a video and actually posted that 2 years ago. So if you missed those videos, I'll link them down in the description. Definitely go check them out. They are super cool. But while we were there, we weren't able to visit Marie's tomb because unfortunately the cemetery was closed due to COVID, but we did stay in a hotel that was actually down the street from her home at 1020 St. Anne Street, and we got to walk by it every single day of our visit, so that was really neat. And we also popped into the shop called Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo. Now, no recording is allowed inside the shop, so out of respect, I didn't do any recording in there. But if you get a chance to go to New Orleans, definitely pop in there because they have tons of witchy items. They were doing readings in there, and they were also advertising for some other witchy events that were coming up. So that was really neat. And I'd have to say the most magical part of our New Orleans trip was visiting Congo Square. My husband and I probably sat in Congo Square for at least 2 to 3 hours. He sat there and read to me inside the square there, and there were these trees. I'm not sure, were they conifer trees? I can't remember what they were, but they were the trees that had the long limbs that go out to the side, and they were gorgeous. They were just going in like this to the center of the square, and they were absolutely gorgeous with the Spanish moss. Oh my gosh. But not just the trees, but the whole experience and atmosphere, especially if you're an empath. It was like the past and present were melding, and you could like feel the history and the magic emanating from the bricks. Like, I have no words for how magical and powerful that just sitting there made me feel. It was absolutely beautiful. So if you ever get the chance to go to New Orleans, definitely visit Congo Square. It's definitely worth the trip. But that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, definitely give this video a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, friends. Bye.